I haven't touched the many new Marvel TV shows that have come out recently, with Moon Knight being the first and only. I was interested in this series since I saw the trailer, but it took me a couple months to actually get to watching it. Overall, if you don't know much about the show, Egyptian gods are real and can act on this world via avatars. Museum shop worker Stephen Grant has a split personality, Mark Spector, who rampages the night as the apostle of Khonshu. That's the basic premise, and now here is my review on the totally brand new show, Moon Knight. In episode 1, we can see how Stephen Grant goes through his daily life, and seems to have a sleepwalking problem as his bedroom is set up like a weird fetish dungeon. He then randomly wakes up in a field and starts getting shot at from these random blokes as a mysterious voice begins speaking to him. He escapes to this small village where we see our antagonist Arthur Harrow, who judges people based on the scales of Amit, who judges the people even on what the future holds. We then get on this car chase, where Stephen Grant blacks out and appears back in his bed, with his traps now being set off, as he believes it was all a dream. He lives through his day-to-day life again, but many things are wrong. People saying he's been in a location yesterday when he wasn't, and apparently missing days of work. He then finds a secret cupboard in his room that leads to a cell phone, which makes us question who he is. Then a voice begins speaking to him, and a supernatural shittery occurs around him. The next day, he goes back to the museum to find Arthur Harrow waiting for him, preaching the words of Amit. Stephen realises this guy is a bit of a deranged nutter, and runs into the darkness of the museum where a starving werewolf thingamabob tries to eat the fuck out of him. He then lets this mirror personality take over, and we see Mr. Moon Knight give this stray dog a mighty pounding. This episode to me was a great opening to the show, with its mysteries of what the fuck's going on, and great acting from the cast, especially Oscar Isaac. It kept me intrigued on what the fuck is going on, and I wanted to watch the next episode immediately after to see where the story develops, and it actually ends up being my favourite one out of all 6. The music was alright, with of course the best song being the ending theme, A Man Without Love. What a classic. Episode 2 starts with Stephen Grant waking up to find out he's been fired from work because he's believed to be a thief. He goes to a storage unit to find out who this Mark Spector bloke is, and finds out he has a shit ton of guns, fake passports, and other shit. Mark then tries to coerce him into giving up and to stop diving too deep into this, which results in Khonshu scaring the living shit out of Stephen. He leaves the area, gets picked up by this girl called Scarlet Scarab, who believes Stephen is her soon-to-be divorced husband. They go back home, talk some shit out, get to know each other. When the police arrive and arrest him, Stephen then realises that Mark is a mercenary and killed some archaeologists because he is a record and wanted. And it then turns out the police are working for Arthur. Arthur then tries to talk him into his Amit cult by offering him some fucking soup. And we find out that Arthur also used to be Khonshu's avatar. Stephen then tries to escape and fails horribly while fighting another stray dog, and yet again hands over his body to Mark Spector to fuck up yet another dog. Man, animal rights activists, get on this, Jesus fucking Christ. I also like this episode a lot due to the dynamic between Mark and Stephen, with the arrival of the soon-to-be ex-wife of Mark, while Stephen's there really fucking confused about what's going on. The story also further develops as we begin to understand the motives behind Arthur's master evil plan and what he wants to do, to the point where he would even kill children if in the future they were to do something wrong. Overall, this was a great second episode and kept me further intrigued, and I wanted to see more, yet again just like the first one. Another banger. This one begins with Mark being in control in Egypt and trying to find information on a dig site that ends up with a young teen yeeting himself off a cliff, and the discovery of a third personality that Stephen and Mark are still unaware of. Khonshu calls a meeting of the gods to try and stop Arthur from releasing Amit, who is basically a terrorist. The gods, having the intelligence of a walnut, take Arthur's word like it's impossible that he could ever lie and do anything wrong, because they fucking hate Khonshu, who's a bit of a knob, in all honesty. The fiancé then finds them, and then goes to this rich bastard who has a weird glass triangle with a tomb that contains a map to the tomb of Hera. This obviously goes south thanks to Arthur and a big fight occurs, which leads to Mark winning. Who would have thought? Stephen then needs to come out to play to solve a map that will lead to the tomb to Hera, that needs Khonshu to sacrifice himself to turn back the stars and find out the location of the tomb. Overall, in my opinion, this was the worst episode of the bunch. The meeting with the gods was fucking stupid. The other gods have the brain capacity of a walnut. Like, how could they not think that Arthur could not lie? He took his word for 100% truth and said, you know what, fuck it, this guy is like an angel. He wouldn't lie to us. And didn't even try to figure out for themselves. It was like, oh, this is a serious topic. Amit, basically the terrorist of gods, could be resurrected. Oh, it's fine. I'll take his word. Episode 4. This entire episode is about the infiltration of the tomb of Hera, where we mainly see Stephen figuring out the riddles the tomb has to offer. We also see Stephen steal Mark's girl, literally stealing his split personality's wife. Go on, Stephen. Some guardians of the tomb force Stephen and Scarlet to split up. This results in Scarlet being found by Arthur, who reveals her dad was killed by Mark Spector at the archaeologist site that was mentioned in episode 2. Mark goes further into the tomb and finds the tombstone of Alexander the Great, and via some intelligent plays by Mark, he ends up finding the stone statue that Amit was trapped in. Scarlet then confronts him about the possible killing of her father, where we find out what really happened at the dig site. Arthur arrives to take the stone statue, and Mark and Stephen fucking die. We then end up in a mental asylum, where we see Mark being portrayed as a complete fucking psychopath, due to this doctor resembling Arthur. Mark reunites with Stephen, now separated, when Hippo Lady makes them shit themselves. This was a very nice episode. It was wonderful to see Stephen solve the mysteries and riddles of the tomb, while having this drama between Mark and Scarlet, with more about Mark being revealed to us, who at this point was still a very mysterious character. The ending with the mental asylum was the highlight for me, due to its intrigue and atmosphere. The tension in this part was enormous, and, of course, I want to continue to the next episode, which is, of course, what I did. Overall, amazing episode. Episode 5. We start again from the beginning, where Mark had an appointment with a supposed doctor. Then the Hippo returns, and we find out what this is the afterlife. Stephen and Mark go through the doors in the asylum, corresponding to different memories to balance the scale, so they can pass in the afterlife and not fucking die in a big pit of sand with other dead people. This is where we discover the death of Mark's brother, and that Stephen is a split personality that Mark created because of the abuse given to him by his mother, who despised him and blamed him for his brother's death. The mother is also dead, and when Stephen realises, he goes full on bitch mode, punches Mark, and now the scales couldn't balance in time, resulting in weird mummy zombie things getting on the boat to try and take them into the sand for eternal death. Stephen goes overboard and falls into the sand, resulting in him turning into sand. Great. Mark is then transported into the good afterlife because the death of Stephen results in the scales becoming balanced. This is close to my favourite episode due to how all the memories are presented in this mental asylum with different doors, and the entire atmosphere of the episode being set in an asylum is a big plus for me. Absolutely loved it. Everything conveyed was fantastic, and we finally get Mark's full story with the sad reality of Stephen's existence, ending in what we presume to be the death of Stephen, who sacrificed himself for Mark. In episode 6, we come back to reality to see Mark's dead body still floating in the water and Arthur giving the victory pose, and we see Scarlet grieve the death of the one she loves. Arthur begins to drive away to the pyramids of Giza, while Scarlet follows to try and stab the living shit out of him. Tawet then speaks to Scarlet via a dead corpse to tell Scarlet the master plan to free Khonshu and not stab him because you will fucking die. While she does this, the release of Amit is happening, and she has a nice chat with her loyal simp, Arthur. Mark goes back to the desert shithole to be with Stephen, and via the power of friendship, they somehow resurrect and are able to get to the world of living and kick some ass. Stephen and Mark strike a deal with Khonshu, so they don't need to be his avatar, because let's be honest, Khonshu's a bit of a knob. Scarlet then becomes Tawet's avatar, so they can fuck up Arthur together with Mark and Stephen. Moon Knight and Arthur are battling it out, same with Amit and Khonshu. Amit tries to bring Khonshu to her side and fails massively. Arthur then begins to get beaten down like Chris Rock at the Oscars, but this time it's Will and Jada Smith. Scarlet and Moon Knight are double teaming Arthur's asshole and beating him until submission. Mark then goes sicko mode when a secret third personality literally fucks up Arthur's shit real good. Amit is also destroying Khonshu as she's dragging his ass around like a toy. They then seal the big crocodile, and Mark and Steven are finally free from Khonshu's grasp. The Doctor then appears yet again, but this time, Mark and Steven are one with each other as they wake up on Steven's fucked up bed. Once again. The end. Overall, the show was really good and I thoroughly enjoyed it. There are some boring moments and things that get a bit tedious. And some things just don't make sense, like that fucking God meeting. But anyway, it was definitely fun to watch and interesting. It's not often we get a superhero with split personalities. Actually, not at all from what I know. This is the only superhero I know with a split personality. The best bits for me ended up being the mystery about Mark and the future discovery and explanation of what this Steven and Mark situation is. The action was okay, like any Marvel movie, and CGI was good for the most part, never dragged me out the experience. It had its funny moments, especially Steven stealing his split personality's wife. Can't go wrong with that. And I would recommend it. And for my final rating, I would give it a good old 8 out of 10. Anyway, that's enough for me. Like and subscribe, and until next time, peace.